We will now begin discussing the solution to exercise 6-14, working with a segmented income statement on page 260. This problem involves a company, Marple Associates, which is a consulting firm that specializes in information systems for construction and landscaping companies. What we have is segmented income statements in the contribution format for both the Houston office as well as the Dallas office, and then the total company contribution format income statement. In requirement number 1, they want to know how much would the company's net operating income increase if Dallas increased its sales by $75,000 per year. They assume that no change in cost behavior patterns has occurred. As you can see here in the solution, if sales revenue would increase by $75,000 per year in the Dallas office, there would be an additional $30,000 of contribution margin. How we know that is that if you take 40% of $75,000, 40% being the contribution margin ratio for the Dallas office, as listed on page 260, multiplied by 75 grand would give you an additional $30,000 of contribution margin. This additional $30,000 is the solution to that answer. Part 2 says, go back to the original data, and it says, assume that sales in Houston increase by $50,000 next year, and that sales in Dallas remain unchanged. Also, assume that there's no change in fixed cost. They want us to prepare a new segmented income statement for the company using the above format. If you scroll down to Part 2 of this solution, you would see that increasing the Houston office revenue by 50 grand would bring it to $200,000. Assuming that the contribution margin ratio is still 70%, they did not tell us it changed, we would therefore have contribution margin of $140,000 and segment margin of $62,000 after subtracting the traceable fixed cost of $78,000. Overall, the company's segment margin would be $212,000. Net operating income would increase to $92,000. Part B of this number 2 said that observing the income statement you've prepared and the contribution margin ratio for Houston has remained unchanged at 70%. But the segment margin ratio has changed. If you notice, it's gone up to 31%. As originally stated in the book on page 260 was 18%. And they want us to explain the change in the segment margin ratio. And basically, the segment margin ratio has risen as a result of the rise in sales, and also the fact that fixed costs have remained the same. These fixed costs are spread over a larger base as the sales revenue has increased. The contribution margin ratio is stable as long as there's no change in variable cost. However, the segment ratio will increase as a result of increased contribution margin, assuming that there's no change to the traceable fixed cost. Therefore, that is the result or the difference that we see from one segment margin statement as listed in page 260 to this solution in the book. This concludes our discussion of exercise 6-14.